Welcome to Spiedel's California Minute. I'm your host, Catherine Sedan. This week, we're covering the consequences of failing to file Form 3840, California's like-kind exchange form. Spiedel's online research package is your personal office library that can be referenced day and night to solve clients' tax problems accurately and efficiently. A subscription includes access to Spiedel's federal and California tax letters, Spiedel's analysis and explanation of California taxes, tax code and regulations, agency publications, tax cases and appeals, and more. For details, visit Spiedel.com and click Publications. All taxpayers are required to file Form FTB 3840 California like-kind exchanges if they exchange a California property for a non-California property in a tax-deferred Section 1031 exchange. The return is filed in the year of the exchange and every year thereafter until the deferred tax is paid. But what happens if a taxpayer fails to file the return? According to the Form 3840 instructions, if a taxpayer fails to file Form 3840, the FTB may issue a notice of proposed assessment on the amount of income deferred, essentially accelerating the gain recognized on the deferred exchange into the year the form was not filed. However, the law only allows the FTB to accelerate this gain recognition in a tax year if the taxpayer fails to file Form 3840 and fails to file a California income tax return for that year. So California taxpayers who file a return but don't file Form 3840 would not be subject to this accelerated gain recognition. The law was primarily designed to address non-California taxpayers who fail to pay the tax to California on the deferred income from the California property sale. Residents are most likely going to file a return and be taxed on the income anyway. However, non-residents or former California residents generally don't file a California return, and unless the taxpayer files Form 3840, there's no easy way for the FTB to track down the sale. Like-kind exchanges are one of the top FTB audit areas, so the FTB is going to be on the alert for taxpayers who report a like-kind exchange and fail to file Form 3840. A taxpayer is going to at least be contacted, if not audited, by the FTB if they fail to file the form. If the taxpayer didn't file Form 3840 with their return for the year of the exchange, the FTB strongly encourages taxpayers to submit Form 3840 with an amended return. This will make sure that Form 3840 is associated with the taxpayer's return because the form generally is required to be filed with the California tax return for taxpayers who have a California filing requirement. If it's filed separately, there will more likely be an inquiry from the FTB about the transaction. While Form 3840 may be included with an e-filed California return, the form cannot be e-filed as a standalone form. Either way, the form is due by the extended due date of the return. Knowing which parties have to file Form 3840 will help avoid forgetting to file it. For multiple owners, each owner will complete Form 3840 to report their proportionate share of the gain in the year of sale and subsequent years. If the property is owned by a pass-through entity, the entity has to file Form 3840. If the entity liquidates and the property is passed to the owners, the filing requirement passes to the partners or members or shareholders who now own the property. If the property is owned by a single-member LLC, the taxpayer files Form 3840 with the individual return. And if a married couple divorces, whichever spouse receives the property is the taxpayer required to file Form 3840. If both spouses own the property, then each will need to file the form. We cover this topic in the May 2026 issue of Spiedel's California Tax Letter, including tips for filing Form 3840 for gifted property, replacement property replaced with California property, and multiple replacement properties. For information on a subscription to this monthly newsletter, go to Spiedel.com and click Publications. That's all for this week. Join us next time for another episode of Spiedel's California Minute.